Oh yeah, this is a good Hanzo tweet too. My best advice I can give to players looking to get into the FGC via GGST is to not listen to low level, mid level, high level, or top players in regards to anything. The one time you should listen to top players is right here when you read this tweet, because he's so right. I hear this sometimes, is that burnouts should not be as punishing in Street Fighter. I actually think that burnouts being really punishing is so important for the game. If burnout was not very punishing, just think about this, right? There was a player, I won't say who it was, but a top player said like button in DI should always have a big enough gap that you can reaction throw it. So basically what they're saying is I always want to be able to spend all my drive gauge all the time. When I get cornered, I want to be able to always throw DI so I can never be stuck. You just don't have to care ever. Saving your meter and considering your meter for DI doesn't matter at all. Saving your drive gauge literally never matters. You just always send it on your drive gauge all the time, always. And then defensively, you're extremely powerful because you just back throw them and then run away. Was this player over 30 years old? They were over 30 years old, yes. And they were a very defensive player, which makes sense because if you're a defensive player, not being able to be punished in burnout is strong, right? Yeah, I mean, that's the design of the game. And it leads to interesting decision making. I'll give you an example. This is Safe versus Phenom at Capcom Cup. I was going to talk about this moment and why I think it makes the drive gauge so interesting, and it creates interesting decision points around it. So they're playing neutral. Phenom does crouching medium kick drive rush, and look at how wrong he is. He does jab, he tries to beta throw, Safe guesses correctly. His reward is to jam in his own button and force burnout. Not only did crouching medium kick drive rush not work for Phenom, Safe just targets his drive gauge back. The decision making on his own offense became, I will just crouching medium kick, crouching heavy punch, Jinrai, and just force the burnout. Right? So like that is a really interesting decision on top of that. Notice that Phenom, he picked all this offense, but then like after his offense didn't work, because he doesn't have drive rush to engage, he can't stick to him very long. And then this sets up this for Safe, which is this. He gets the hit, and this is the coolest part about this sequence. He gets a hit, right? And then oh no, he drops his combo. Well, he gets lucky and he just DIs him and gets the stun after, right? So good, he got lucky. Except he didn't drop the combo. That was not a combo drop. What Safe does here is he hits him and he does run, stop, and ends the combo early so that he doesn't build extra meters, so that he cannot level one out of this scenario, and he guarantees the drive impact. This is also why Phenom got hit on Wake Up. He was trying to escape, and then it allows him to checkmate him, and he doesn't build the super. This drive gauge created such a really interesting series of decision making that like was not related to fireballs and uppercuts and like the basic mechanics of Street Fighter, but just around the drive gauge itself. And it starts with crouching medium kick drive rush, which is supposed to be like the best thing in this game. Like this is supposed to be no downside, really cheap. And by doing it and then being wrong, he just makes Safe go, oh cool, instantly burn. And then later on in the corner, again, he gets the hit here. And then instead of doing run, sure you can, and then building him the meter, he ends the combo early. And then you know what happens?
Certainly looks like it is. It's being written in the match right before us. Is it with a DP save?
He dies.
The only DP from Phenom.
Cool sequence, right? This is not the first time this happened either. When I saw this, I was like, man, you know, this game is cool. This is also why I think the drive gauge is really interesting. The problem is, how often do people say things that are like, oh man, the drive gauge creates really interesting scenarios like this versus crouching medium kick drive rush is cheap. It's like almost never somebody talking about the game in a more interesting way. Because it's easy to be like, crouching medium kick drive rush is dumb. It's harder to be like, oh, this is an example of why crouching medium kick drive rush could actually lose you a round, which is cool. There's like so many parts of it that are really, even like Chris, he made a tweet about it where he says like, what could I have done to get out of this scenario? And even that scenario is interesting because there's actually like a few ways for him to escape, right? So it's like Rashid knocks down level 2. The first one is he could have perfect parried this move and like kept his drive gauge, or he could have perfect parried the normal, this one or this one, right? The other answer is that what he's supposed to do, or this jab here. The other answer is he's supposed to drive reversal right here. I mean, he didn't even need a perfect parry it, I guess. He could have just regular parried if there was a gap. But if there's no gap, the best answer here is drive reversal this. It's a hard sequence to get out of. I mean, he's fucked no matter what, I think is the answer. Being that low on drive gauge against Rashid. But what's fun about it is like solving the best answer to escape it is interesting, even in scenarios where you're like dead anyway. I mean, like not the round, but like his drive gauge, he's going to get cornered and then burnt out anyway, right? This one right here this is where you're supposed to drive reversal. This is the easiest one of all the answers, and it's like the best one. He gets the knockdown, and then he's gonna get out of burnout first, but like you at least can get a knockdown out of it instead of being like in this position where you get thrown. I don't universally just like new games either. I think they have a lot of design things in them that I find are like But I also think that there's lots of new things or new games that have more interesting designs in them that people give them credit for. Like Street Fighter 6 to me is a more interesting design space than they've done in Street Fighter, like maybe ever, honestly. I know that it's popular to dislike it and boil it down to like man turn green and go fast, but the decision making around the system mechanics and the characters built within the context of it, I think are more complex than basically whatever they've done. New players who haven't been around that long have heard old man yells about new game being bad like 50 times in like 2 years. And when that happens, I think it like ends up really distilling the discussion about like what makes new and old games different and like what about each of them is actually unique. Like what are the things in the old games that are actually really cool and they nailed versus what are the things in the new game that are better feeling, right? Because I played both. I played a lot of both. I also really hate strike throw, in parentheses derogatory. They treat strike throw like it's a bad thing to have in fighting games when it's actually just the natural way fighting game offense works. There's nothing else to do besides strike, throw, and then mix-ups that are left, right, overhead, low. Those are the only things that the game supports as a mix-up. The old games that are beloved, a lot of them are strike throw games. That's how offense works, man. Like fighting games are strike or throw. And mix-ups in fighting games are just strikes that are hard to see. I think what they mean is that the offense leaves mostly heavy guesses on strike or throw that are rewarded towards strike, so that the option is just to eat the throw, and then the throw is just like a small thing that you eat over and over and over, and like you don't have OSs or things to save you from the throw. But like if you think about the design space of the game, like you need strong offense and throws to exist in the game in tandem, or like the game can just get boring on offense. KOF isn't strike throw. I mean, the basis of KOF is built around an RPS about like short hopping to beat the option that you think your opponent is gonna do, or going low to catch them standing up to do an OS, or spacing yourself out of their pressure so that their throw whip becomes a button and then you can frame trap it. Like it is a strike throw game. In fact, I think I like about the game, the way the offense works in the game, it's a system that's built and all the characters kind of interact with it in a very similar way. So like the way you pressure and do stuff in KOF is a very universal idea, right? Like most of the characters are trying to do the same kind of stuff. You're hopping with a certain button, you're running up and hitting low B, or whatever you're doing, right? The characters interact with the system in a very similar way, and it's what makes picking up new characters and stuff very fun, because you like learn your close normal confirm into like your command normal, and then like you just do the low B confirm into whatever, or you like max off of it. But yeah, I mean, it is a strike throw game too. I mean, it's strikes and throws. Mostly you are frame trapping their button or going over it or throwing them or punishing their throw whiff attempt. If you want to play a strike throw game that doesn't have throw, go play CVS2. CVS2 has a lot of good strikes, and you can roll to make them invincible. And you can activate to make their attempt to intercept you invincible and beat their strike. CVS2 is a funny game to watch though. Same thing with Third Strike. Both of them you can see why people romanticize it. But if you want to be dismissive and like boil it down like people do to modern games, it's pretty easy to do that too.